Confident, confident, confident. I can be confident, 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 confident. I can be confident at work.
Hello and welcome to the Confident at Work podcast. I'm your host and your confidence coach, Anna Manning. In today's episode, we're talking about something that comes up all the time, avoiding difficult conversations because we don't want to upset someone. And you might tell yourself that it's about their feelings. That's the reason why you're not having the conversation. But is it really? In this episode, I'm breaking down the real reason why I think we shy away from having the conversation, from being direct, from giving the feedback, or from speaking up because we're trying to protect ourselves from our own discomfort. This episode is an invitation to some radical honesty with yourself about what's actually holding you back and how to move through it. So if you've ever fluffed around an issue, softened a message so much that it's lost all its clarity, or avoided a conversation entirely, then this one's for you. In this episode, you're going to learn why telling yourself that you're avoiding it because it's about their feelings is a trap, how to spot the real emotions that you're trying to avoid, what makes those hard conversations harder and what makes them easier, the truth about controlling other people's feelings and why you never really had it anyway, and an invitation to step into some clarity, some kindness, and some courage. So this is the start of a mini series about giving feedback, having difficult conversations. So let's get into it. This came about because I've been coaching people. I keep coaching people on the fact that they need to have a tough conversation and either they're avoiding it or they think they don't know how to do it. And I decided it was time for some what I call a love truth moment. And I emailed my email list and I'm just going to read you what I wrote to them. I said, "Hi. Let's have a love truth moment. When you tell me you don't want to have the conversation or give the feedback because you're worried about their feelings, here's what I really hear. I don't want to have the conversation or give the feedback because I'm worried about my feelings. What if it's not about them? What if it's about you? What if it's about your fear of upsetting someone? Your fear of being direct when you'd rather soften or skirt around the issue. Your fear about whether they'll still like you after you've had the conversation. All of that is totally human. But if we're being honest with ourselves and we're willing to be a little bit uncomfortable, then let's name it clearly. It's your feelings you're worried about. And that's where we need to begin. With you. It's a common belief about why we avoid hard conversations because we don't want to upset people. We don't want people to get their feelings hurt. We don't want people to react badly. But here's today's reframe, because my belief about it is that I don't want to feel uncomfortable. I don't want to get my feelings hurt. I think we cling to the idea that it's about the other person's feelings when in reality, I think it's about ours. And this could include avoiding giving feedback, dodging conflict, softening a message to the point of confusion, avoiding a conversation that everybody knows that we really need to have. I used to do this big time. I was an avoider of difficult conversations, of uncomfortable moments. Sometimes still now, but much less. And it only could change when I realized the actual thing I was struggling with was my own emotions around those conversations. When I told myself the truth that maybe actually it wasn't about avoiding everybody else being upset, but maybe the reason I didn't want to do it was because I was actually trying to avoid me being upset. Only when I got honest with myself and was able to actually say the truth, which was that it was more about me than it was about them. This mindset shift from it's not about their feelings, it's actually about yours, I think actually makes your conversations easier. So conversely, when you're thinking, oh, it's about their feelings, that's the problem, it makes those conversations harder because you have this illusion of control. You have the illusion that one, you're responsible for somebody else's feelings, and two, you can control it. When I coach a client around this issue, and they're coming at it from the point of view of trying to control somebody else's feelings or trying to control somebody else's reaction, they get all tangled up in their head. Because the truth is, you can't control someone else's feelings. You can't control someone else's reaction. You could say something in the clearest, most perfect, most compassionate way possible, and still somebody might have feelings about it. Still somebody might have a reaction that you don't like. Still, it might not get the result that you want. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't try to take account for people's feelings and that you shouldn't try to deliver things directly and compassionately. I'm guessing if you're someone who listens to this podcast, you're already doing that. Of course, we should take account of other people around us and the impact that we're having on them. But when their feelings and how they're going to react are the first consideration, you will dance around the issue to high heaven. You will not be direct. They will be left scratching their head, or you'll be avoiding the conversation altogether because you cannot control their feelings or their reaction. And when you try, it just leads to either total avoidance or vague communication, softening an issue, dancing around it, skirting around it. Do they know what you mean? Do you know what you mean? You're trying to soften it to try and make it more palatable because you're worried about their feelings or their reaction, which may leave them clueless as to what you're actually saying. It may leave them completely unclear as to what the expectation that you actually have in your head is, which they kind of need to know if they're going to meet it. And it may leave you feeling frustrated, may leave you feeling resentful because they're not getting it or they don't understand or they're like this or they're like that. You made the problem about them, and then at the back end, you probably still lay it at their door. But this is tough love moment, because what is your role in that? Setting clear expectations, being direct, telling them when something isn't the way you want it, telling them this is how I expect you to improve and by when, and being clear, this is not good enough. This needs to change. Now, I'm not saying that if you taking responsibility for your own feelings in this situation is going to make it all easy. Probably not going to be easy. Probably going to be a bit uncomfortable. Probably going to be a bit difficult. But there is an emotional weight to carrying unsaid things. There is a mental drain that happens when you know that there's conversations that you could or should be having, but you're not having them. And one of the reasons that you might not be having them is because you've laid the problem at somebody else's door. You've thought that it was about them and their feelings and their reaction, when, honey, I think it's about yours. It will affect your confidence. It will affect your clarity, and it will affect the integrity of your relationships. Now, I'm not preaching to you from a place of having this perfect. Believe me, I do not have this perfect. Just this morning, I have had an incident where I could have been direct and I wasn't. And now I know that was about my feelings, not about theirs. I told myself the truth about that, but I haven't quite gone over it yet. So if you're sitting there and thinking, God, yeah, I have been making it about the other person, and maybe, just maybe, she's right and it's about me, I don't want you to hear this as calling you out. I want you to hear it as calling you in. I want you to hear it as calling you into something that you can actually take hold of, something you can actually control, and something that you can actually change. If you're willing to be at least uncomfortable enough to tell yourself the truth before you even have the conversation. Is it your feelings you're worried about? Is it your fear of being direct? Is it your fear that somebody else might not like what you've got to say? Is it your fear that they might not like you as much after you've said what you've got to say? So here's the shift. What if you tried accepting that you're managing your own discomfort, not theirs? And what if you only have to manage 50% of this situation, your own discomfort? If you're willing to be really honest with yourself, if there's a situation or conversation that you're avoiding right now, or you're kind of saying something but not quite, and you know you're doing that, maybe just ask yourself, what am I actually afraid of? What is it that I'm worried about? What do I fear that this person's going to do or say? And if that happens, how is it going to make me feel? Because that's what we want to catch. Your feelings. That's what we want to be aware of. And can you feel really uncomfortable and still say what needs to be said? I'm on a school board and we had a meeting last week. And I've been thinking about this, thinking about talking to you about this topic. And because I've been thinking about that, I knew there were some conversations that we were going to have that were going to be quite probing and could potentially be kind of uncomfortable. So I thought, well, what if I just say that right up front? And so I said, if we're doing our jobs properly here, our job is a board, right? So we're thinking about challenge, we're thinking about assurance, we're thinking about probing and asking challenging questions and really seeing where things might not be quite right, and looking at them with a critical lens, a supportive lens, but a critical lens. So I said to them, look, if we're doing our jobs properly, if I'm doing my job properly, we're going to have some conversations that might feel really uncomfortable. And if we're doing that, that means, hopefully, that we're doing what we're here to do. And I wonder if that's a bit of a permission giver for you as well. Is it true that if you're doing your job properly, sometimes you're going to be saying things that make you and potentially other people really uncomfortable? I think if they were honest in job descriptions, they'd probably have a bullet point that said, willing to make myself and others really uncomfortable. Because it's the truth of it, isn't it? When we have to be honest, when we're stretching people, when we're giving developmental feedback, when we're communicating whether we think things are right, wrong, good, crap, we're going to have moments where it feels really uncomfortable. Probably. And if we're okay with that, if we know our own feelings and we can own them and say, this is not about them or their reaction, this is about me and my reaction, I think that's a good place to start from. So let's recap. When we avoid hard conversations, we're probably doing it because of how we feel. And we're probably saying that we're doing it because we're worried about how they feel. So let's start before we try and change anything, before we even try maybe and start having those conversations, is just to try being honest with ourselves and saying, is this right? Is it my own feelings that I'm trying to protect here? Is it my own fear of upsetting somebody and how that'll make me feel? Is it my own discomfort around being direct when I'd rather soften or skirt round an issue? Is it my own worry about being liked? I thought this might be a bit of an uncomfortable episode, and I think that's probably a good thing. Maybe I've got some feelings around making you uncomfortable. Maybe I've got some feelings around this being maybe not that palatable. And I know for full well that some of you are going to be thinking, that is not what I'm doing. I'm thinking about the other person because I'm really nice. And I know you're really nice. But as I said in that email, if we're being honest with ourselves and we're willing to be a little bit uncomfortable, let's name it clearly. It's our feelings we're worried about, and that's where we need to begin. All right. If you want to come and work more closely with me so that you can feel more confident at work, there are two ways to do that. Either join the Confident at Work membership. This is for women. We have group coaching, we have a learning library, we have a private podcast. Everything in there is designed to help you feel more confident at work. If you want to work privately with me, then book a call to come and talk to me about private coaching. Typically, I'll work with clients for around 3 months until they feel the kind of confidence that they want and that they need to really fly in their job. We'll sit down, we'll discuss your challenges, and we'll create you a bespoke program to meet them. All right. I will see you in next week's episode. Bye.
Confident, confident, confident. I can be confident, 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 confident. I can be confident at work.